Black Oni.
Hello everybody, this is Art Echo 1034 from the Black Oni Collective, and I'm here today to bring you the first part of a three-part series that I'm doing on Mass Effect leading up to Mass Effect Andromeda's release, set for release later this month, March 21st, 2017. With the game's imminent release, I thought it appropriate to address my thoughts on the previous Mass Effect games and to give some of my personal hopes regarding Andromeda's story, characters, and gameplay. Should note that this article and this video will likely contain a lot of spoilers from the previous three Mass Effect games, so if you tend to play those games before playing Andromeda, I would recommend walking away. Okay, you're still here. So let's take a quick look back at the story of Mass Effects 1, 2, and 3. To start things off, well, the first three games rather, set up and concluded a galaxy-wide conflict between the various sentient races of the galaxy and the seemingly invincible race of self-aware, living spaceships called the Reapers. The Reapers. Ominous name. These Reapers, which were created eons ago by some long-dead society, were a machine race dedicated to destroying and eliminating most, if not all, sentient life in the galaxy. This repeated on an age-old cycle that's been going every 50,000 years, and they tend to target the civilizations that have the most technologically advanced societies. Humanity survived because we were basically still in the Stone Age, and the Reapers were like, nah, fuck that. They basically took out the Protheans, which were essentially our predecessors and the people that we thought all the technology that we find in the Mass Effect universe came from them. Turns out that was a lie. Essentially, the Reapers were kind of like the galaxy's reset button on sentient life, and every so often they'd come in, wipe the slate clean, and using the biomaterial from the races they collected during their cleanup to create more Reapers along the way. Around 2183, the Reapers return, and your character in the original trilogy, Commander Shepard, is essentially tasked with finding a way to break that never-ending cycle of death and destruction, all the while dealing with the various factions of the galaxy's menial and extremely idiotic concerns. Wouldn't be a BioWare game if you didn't have to solve everybody's problems first. I'm not going to go into the entire story's details here since it took BioWare 3 full-length games to tell the story, but I will just say that in the end, Shepard somehow manages to bring the galaxy's bickering alien factions together and leads the charge of the final battle against the Reapers in Mass Effect 3. Many of your decisions from each game influence how you go about dealing with the Reapers, and the ending of Mass Effect 3 is pretty much the same, a decision. Like myself, I'm sure many of you who have been longtime fans of the Mass Effect series have some strong opinions about BioWare's handling of the end of the series. Again, since this article is meant as a look, this article and videos rather, is meant as kind of a look back at the previous games, I'm not going to spend too much time on that. There's plenty of info on the internet that if you want to know more about it, and plenty of people bitching about it, so I will leave that alone. But suffice it to say, though, we finally win, and the galaxy is at peace with the Reapers once again. While I was not terribly thrilled with the ending of Mass Effect 3, I still love the series as a whole. I even read the accompanying books, Revelation, Ascension, Retribution, and Deception. If you're a fan of the games and the story that they told, I would highly recommend picking up these books as they give interesting and new perspectives to the game's universe and certain key characters throughout. I would especially recommend Revelation because it is a story that involves David Anderson and Saren, who was the main antagonist for the first game, and it gives some history prior to the game's start. So it's a really good look back at how the events of the first game kind of came to be and why you are slated to become a Spectre and all of that stuff. So I would highly recommend those. A couple of the other books, Ascension, Retribution, they deal with Cerberus and the Elusive Man, and those are also a lot of fun to read and really good story as well. So let's see here. Overall, the story of the games and the books together is probably one of the best stories I've ever experienced, at least in a game. BioWare has a pretty good talent for bringing together compelling characters and immersive story, and I have no doubt that they'll be bringing that talent to Andromeda. With all that said, let's take a quick look at the story for Andromeda. While not a ton is known about the story of Andromeda, we do know a little bit. Again, regarding spoilers, if you don't want to know anything potentially spoiled or don't want to have anything potentially spoiled before jumping into Andromeda, again, please run for your life now. But if you're still here, let's keep going. From what's been released up until now, Andromeda technically actually begins sometime between the events of Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3, when the races of the Citadel Council put together a plan to populate new worlds in the nearest neighboring galaxy. You guessed it, the Andromeda Galaxy. Each race is sending roughly about 20,000 citizens on a journey to the Andromeda Galaxy, and even with the advances of technology, that journey would take about 600 years or so. And considering Andromeda is roughly 2.5 million years from Earth, I suppose that is a relatively short amount of time. Upon arrival in the Andromeda Galaxy and awakening from a cryosleep, it is the job of everyone in the Andromeda Initiative to explore, make contact with local civilizations, and most importantly of all, find and colonize as many new worlds as possible that can be called home. Beyond that, not much is really known about the story of Mass Effect Andromeda. While I can only guess what's going to happen, I think it's plainly obvious that we're going to meet some resistance to our sudden arrival Andromeda. In essence, we're now the invading force and unsuspecting galaxy, and typically that sort of thing is met with suspicion and violence. Also, let's face it, it wouldn't be a fun game if we didn't have a chance to fight somebody. And, well, that's very important for a role-playing game of any kind. I personally have a lot of theories and guesses about what's going to happen plot-wise. I mean, I suspect at some point, and I believe this may have been alluded to in interviews and content releases by BioWare, but I suspect that your character will have to take charge of the exploration teams at some point because the current leader of your particular team, who also happens to be your character's father, is going to end up killed or kidnapped or something to that effect, and that'll force you and your sibling to step up and take command in his absence. Again, that's just a guess, but certainly I think it fits. All that said, I'm mildly disappointed to hear that there will be no evidence of the Reapers in the Andromeda Galaxy. I was partially hoping that the Reapers, or even their creators, the Leviathans, would have had some sort of presence in the Andromeda Galaxy, but sadly that does not seem to be the case. Certainly rehashing old plot devices can be annoying and old enemies like that, but the Reapers were always an interesting and fascinating enemy to me, and I would have loved to have seen, at the very least, if they had a presence elsewhere in the universe besides just the Milky Way. I mean, the Reapers are a race of sentient, partially organic, and partially synthetic spaceships. They've been around for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years, and with that much time, considering it's taking your characters about 600 years to get from the Milky Way to Andromeda, they could easily make the journey to Andromeda as well as other galaxies besides just these two. So I don't think it would be that far of a stretch to see them go elsewhere. That being said, they are all machines, so maybe they just didn't because of programming. Whatever. All I know is I'm a little disappointed, but still, I am very curious to see what's going to happen. And BioWare, they're really good at telling a story, so I'm confident they have that in the bag. Also, just like the original trilogy, BioWare will be releasing a set of novels that will coincide with the story of the game. The first one actually releases a few days after the release of the game on March 28th and is called Nexus Uprising. Two following books will be coming out later this year, I believe in the summer and fall. So if you're into that sort of thing, check that out. Well, I think that about wraps up this overview of Mass Effect's past and future, at least in the story. Next week, I'll be taking a look at some of the characters of the original trilogy, as well as some of the characters we've been introduced to for Andromeda. That's pretty much all I've got for you. What do you guys think? Are you excited for Mass Effect? What are you looking forward to for Andromeda? Did you enjoy the original game? How did you feel about the controversy about the Mass Effect 3's ending? Let us know. And as always, this is Black Oni Collective, Echo 1034, and yeah, do the like, subscribe, and all that nonsense, and we'll see you in the next video.